Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dylan Kuhn from Fox 40 WICZ TV, and I am honored to be serving as Master of Ceremonies for the 12th Annual Southern Tier Real Heroes event presented by IBM. In years past, this event was scheduled to be the traditional breakfast you've known for more than a decade, but like so many things in our lives, COVID-19 has caused us to rethink and readjust once again. We're so glad you've chosen to join our virtual event for our Real Heroes, where we can safely honor them in support of the American Red Cross. On an average of once a day in the 9 counties the Red Cross serves in New York's Southern Tier and Susquehanna, Pennsylvania, volunteers in Red Cross vests arrive at the scene of a house fire, providing comfort and hope for families who have just lost everything in the blink of an eye. The heroic work of Red Cross volunteers is only possible thanks to the generosity of people like you, so you're all heroes simply for joining our virtual event today. We'll have information on how you can help the Red Cross later in the program. We hope that you find today's event to be the feel-good story of the season as we share the inspirational stories of some real heroes from across the Southern Tier. These are our friends, neighbors, and co-workers, real people making a real difference, all strengthening our communities through their amazing acts. Now, on with the show. To kick off our event, I'd like to introduce Gail McGovern, President and CEO of the American Red Cross at the national level.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gail McGovern, and I have the privilege of serving as President and CEO of the American Red Cross. I truly wish I could be spending time with all of you in person, but I'm still delighted for the opportunity to connect with you virtually and to share a great big thank you for your remarkable commitment to the Red Cross and those we serve. As we all know, this past year has been filled with so many challenges for our nation and for the world. But when I think about this difficult time, I am filled with gratitude for the extraordinary volunteers, employees, donors, and community partners who empowered the Red Cross to be able to fulfill our mission every day. The COVID-19 pandemic did not change our mission, but it certainly did force us to quickly change the way we deliver our mission. I'm proud to say that just like we've done for the past 140 years, the Red Cross rose to the challenge. When disasters like hurricanes, wildfires, and tornadoes displaced families, we quickly pivoted to having people stay in hotels so we could minimize the risk of transmitting COVID. When schools and businesses closed at the beginning of the pandemic, thousands of blood drives were canceled, and we quickly forged new partnerships with hotels, sports venues, and the like, so that we could host socially distant drives in large spaces. We also adopted strict safety protocols to protect the health of our blood donors, our volunteers, and our employees. Not only did we safely meet our nation's demand for blood, we took on a new role of collecting and distributing convalescent plasma from people who fully recovered from COVID-19. And this antibody-rich plasma was used to help patients who were battling the deadly virus. Of course, we also continued our work to provide comfort and care to the members of the U.S. military, our veterans, and their families. I'm the wife of a Vietnam vet, the daughter of a World War II vet, and the proud mom of an active duty airman, so this part of our mission has a special place in my heart. And I am so proud of how we've been able to carry out our work. Instead of working in large call centers, our dedicated Red Crossers are now handling emergency calls from their homes. And we quickly pivoted many of our support offerings for our military members and their families to virtual workshops. Like the other parts of our mission, we've adapted how we teach life-saving courses like CPR and first aid. In addition to smaller class sizes, we're delivering training online. And around the globe, we continue to help other Red Cross and Red Crescent societies with our data and technical expertise to help combat the spread of the virus. All of this life-saving work is only possible because of people like you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your steadfast and generous support of the Red Cross mission. Now more than ever, our nation and the world need the American Red Cross. Thank you for transforming your compassion into action to help people in need. And please enjoy this special program, and I hope to see you all again in person very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail, for that introduction. Today we'll start our Hero Awards with the Fire Rescue Award and the actions of Captain John Colling and firefighter Jim Root. Every day, our first responders selflessly put themselves on the front lines and are often placed in risky situations. This was certainly the case with the amazing rescue conducted by these two dedicated City of Binghamton firefighters. The Fire Rescue Award is sponsored by the Cayuga Health System.
Cayuga Health System is proud to present the Fire and Rescue Award to Captain John Colling and firefighter Jim Root of the Binghamton Fire Department. Both firefighters were responding to a 911 cell phone call for a man trapped in a drainage pipe on the north side of Route 81. Without hesitation, they began searching the long section of 5-foot diameter pipe to locate the worker. Communicating with teams above the ground, they successfully located the victim. After 44 minutes underground and nearly 1 mile of travel under the highway, both Captain Colling and firefighter Root exited the pipe with their unsteady victim alive and stable. Congratulations on a successful rescue.
On May 11th of 2020 at 8:52 p.m., my engine company was requested to respond to a local elementary school called Calvin Coolidge School here on the east side of Binghamton. And the nature of the emergency was, it was reported that a man was stuck in a sewer pipe. And we basically just started to try to size up the situation. There was nobody there to greet us, no civilians, no police officers there at that point. We drove around in our engine looking all over the place. We saw no one. We got out of the engine, we looked at different sewer grates, we looked at some openings down on the street on Robinson Street, and we didn't see anybody. So at this point, the decision was made that, this was a pretty likely spot that this individual could have entered this pipe, because we knew that he was close to the highway. This pipe was large enough to be able to kind of crawl through. We heard nothing from this individual. I kept expecting to see him come down the pipe towards us when he saw our lights or when he heard us calling. We never saw him or heard him early on, so we kept moving southbound through this pipe, and you really don't have a reference for how long you've been in the pipe or how far you've gone, because you're crouched in and you're kind of just shuffling along, and pretty surreal experience. We're calling, we know we're getting close to this guy. He's nowhere to be found. I can probably look 300-400 yards up this pipe. Jim's looking at me like, are you sure you want to keep making this push? I'm like, he's got to be around here somewhere.
Okay, so we went approximately 0.8 of a mile underneath the highway. The biggest help to give us an idea of where we were going and how far it was I remembered that the 911 operator told us that she could ping his cell phone. He still had enough life in his cell phone to be able to kind of get an idea where he was.
So I looked to the left, there's nothing there, and I looked to the right, and I saw what looked to me like garbage down in this pipe coming into our pipe at a 90-degree angle. And this other pipe is pretty small. It's like 18 to 24 inches in diameter, probably closer to 18 to 20 inches in diameter. It's very small. So I'm looking at this garbage and I'm like, oh, okay, during a flood, this garbage must have got washed down this smaller pipe. And then I saw the garbage move. And I looked and I'm like, that's the guy. He's down this smaller pipe. And I yelled to him, I go, hey! And he moaned. He goes, ah! And I go, Jim, he's right here. So Jim got on the radio and the cell phone, let everybody knew that we had this guy located.
So we had the guy out into the bigger pipe. And as the captain stated, the main issue at this point was once we had the knife away from the guy and we made sure he had no other weapons, needles, or anything on him, we gave him a chance to regroup, a chance to to calm down. He was very scared of the dark. Just tried to keep the guy calm, just kept walking, kept talking to him, asked him if he was okay. Asked him why he had gone up in the pipe, a few things, just trying to keep his mind off of the task at hand and just try and make the time go by quicker. If we hadn't showed up at the end of that pipe, I don't think he would have made it. I don't think we would have ever found him.
Thank you and congratulations, Captain Colling and Firefighter Root. Our Good Samaritan Award honoree is a physical education teacher and basketball coach, Eddie G. For Eddie, coaching his team at a routine game was seemingly a day like any other, but it turned out to be anything but. Let's hear how Eddie was able to keep his cool in the midst of a medical emergency and how his quick action provided assistance at a critical moment. The Good Samaritan Award is sponsored by IBM.
Hi, my name is Mary O'Malley Trumbo, and I'm the IBM Endicott Senior Location Executive. I'm honored and privileged to be able to present the Good Samaritan Award for this year's Real Heroes Breakfast. Before I get into that, I just wanted to say, in my humble opinion, we live in a world that employs the term hero far too loosely. It's overused for movie stars, politicians, and professional athletes. And while such individuals might have unique abilities, and while they might even engage in heroic efforts, again, in my opinion, they're not our true heroes. To me, this rings especially true during the pandemic. The Good Samaritan Award this year goes to a very deserving individual. His name is Eddie G, and he's a physical education teacher and a boys modified basketball coach in the Johnson City School District. During one of his coaching sessions, he heard screams coming from the lobby. Acting on instincts, he headed to the lobby and saw an electrician that was working there calling for help and shaking. The electrician happened to be standing on a metal ladder and was apparently electrocuted. Eddie was able to disengage the electrician from the live wire, and the athletic director promptly called 911. Eddie heroically risked his own safety to save this man, someone he didn't even know. I know we all go through training on workplace safety, but I got to tell you, in a time of quick reflexes and thinking, would you think about not touching a metal ladder to save someone? So it really made me think about Eddie and his heroic efforts. The award, again, it embodies self-sacrifice and desire to make the community an ideal place in which we live and work. And Eddie is truly a role model for all of us. In closing, I'd like to share the following quote from Abraham Lincoln's inaugural address in 1861. So I know it's a little old, but it's very relevant. Let us all appeal now to the better angels of our nature. Lincoln asked all of us to do the right thing, even in the face of adversity, to step forward where others decline to tread. Eddie has appealed to the better angels of his nature, and we're a better community because of it. In fact, all our heroes being honored have that same mantra. Again, I wish to extend my heartfelt congratulations to Eddie and countless others like them that respond without hesitation and without knowing if they will be in harm's way. Their efforts keep our community safe. Eddie, you're to be commended, rightfully honored, and thanked by all of us. Congratulations.
I'm a physical education teacher at Horseman Elementary in the Binghamton district. And upon coaching a basketball game for the district at Johnson City Middle School, I was in the midst of coaching and I started to kind of hear some screams that were unusual. So upon hearing the screams again, it just kind of felt a little uneasy. Something felt off. So I kind of just forgot about the basketball game, which was, probably weird for everyone else to see and wonder what I was doing, because I kind of just walked off. And as I entered the door that leads you back into the lobby, I could really hear someone screaming, and I kind of really got the sense like something must be wrong. As approaching, I noticed there was a gentleman on a ladder who was about halfway into the ceiling, so I could really only see his legs, which made it even more difficult to kind of assess what was going on. As I approached the gentleman, I wanted to make sure, there was something wrong, and I could definitely at that point realize that, this guy was in danger, as he was almost kind of starting to shake a little bit, and he managed to kind of say the words like, "Help." So I instantly knew that, he was probably being electrocuted, and, I took a step back, and I thought to myself, like, I don't want to touch the ladder because I didn't know if the ladder was going to pull me into the current, and I certainly didn't want to start being electrocuted along with this gentleman because that wasn't going to save anybody. So I took a few steps back, and the only thing I could think of to do was to cover up my exposed skin and kind of run through the ladder. So that was my plan, and that's exactly what I decided to do. And as I ran through the ladder, the gentleman, the electrician, came down. Luckily, he landed on his bottom, which was fortunate as he was quite high up. I turned to try to help to save him, but there just wasn't enough time for me to get my arms out in time before he actually hit the ground. So after the electrician fell from the ladder and other people came into the lobby where the accident happened, a few of my players were coming out, so I knew that the EMS was on their way, and I knew that he was going to be given him immediate medical care which he needed. So I continued back into the gym and carried on with the game. And later I was informed that he in fact needed several surgeries for his hands, which were severely damaged he was actually connected to a high voltage wire that I'm assuming maybe he thought was off, I'm hoping. And so upon touching the wire, he was severely burned on his hands and he needed several surgeries. Very fortunate to be in that situation, not so much for him, but just fortunate for me, because it kind of sits with you and it makes you feel good to know that you may have done something that not only affects the person that was in danger, but everybody around them. And saving his life in a way has made me feel pretty good in that aspect, because when I first heard his screams, I didn't know. To be honest, I thought it might just be some kids messing around, but I'm glad I went with my gut feeling, was able to go out and help.
Congratulations, Eddie, and thank you for your selfless actions that truly exemplify what it means to be a good Samaritan. This brings us to another story of the selfless heroes within our community. Vincent Sano from Traditions at the Glen and Spa. The COVID-19 pandemic has negatively impacted our community in so many ways, including putting a strain on blood collections and the ability of the Red Cross to maintain a stable blood supply. But as we will show you, the willingness of Vincent to open the doors of Traditions during a dark time has made a life-saving impact. Not to mention that he truly leads by example. Vincent himself has also been proudly donating blood for years. The Blood Donor Award is sponsored by Visions Federal Credit Union.
Hello, my name is Aisha Jasper, Community Development Manager at Visions Federal Credit Union. I'm proud to present the 2021 Blood Donor Award to Vincent Sano. A platelet donor since the 1980s, Vincent Sano, General Manager of Traditions at the Glen Hotel and Spa, offered to host a blood drive in the ballroom at Traditions during the chaotic start of the COVID-19 pandemic. By providing space in a perfect location, 19 blood drives were held, collecting more than 342 pints of blood, equaling 1,026 lives saved. Vincent and his staff worked diligently to get the word out to employees and the community, ensuring a successful turnout. Vincent, it's real heroes like you that make us all proud to be a part of this community. On behalf of Visions Federal Credit Union, I am proud to present Vincent with the Blood Donor Services Award.
I became involved in the Red Cross back in the 80s, and I used to donate blood every 60 some odd days. And I started doing that, and one of the nurses came up to me and said, "Would you like to try pheresis?" I couldn't say it, I couldn't spell it, I had no idea what it was. So they explained to me on the platelets and how that worked. And that's when I started back in those days. Subsequently, I had also joined and listed myself as a bone marrow donor, and I never did get a call on that. And then throughout the years, my blood pressure got a little high and I wasn't able to donate for quite a while. Then, around 1980, I had the opportunity to donate a kidney to my father. So I've always wanted to make sure that these are parts that the body we've got and we can help other people. Blood, platelets, a kidney. So when I got to Binghamton and I started doing this again, you get to know the ladies at the center very well, and you see them every 2 weeks as you donate platelets, and you find that you're helping somebody maybe with going through chemotherapy, and they're spitting off something off my blood, they're getting plasma here, or whatever it is that they're getting that's helping somebody. And when you think about it, all I've given is a couple hours of my time. I don't have any feelings because I have fewer platelets after that donation. I have no feeling after giving blood that there's something different on me. So this is something that everybody can give, and you go about your life just as normal as could be, yet you have the opportunity to help someone. So we've collected over 300 some odd pints of blood just in doing maybe 19, 20 blood drives here, and it's probably saved over 1,000 lives. And we are continuing to provide our space in the coming year. We've already set it up for a few months out, and we'll continue to provide that to the Red Cross for the next year, or as long as they need it, and that we can help somebody.
What a fantastic and creative way to repurpose a resort to provide critical blood supplies. Thank you, Vincent and Traditions. Before we continue with our next award, I want to encourage all of you who are feeling healthy and eligible to make a blood donation appointment for the days and weeks to come. The goal is to get the right blood to the right patient at the right time. Blood drive sponsors and donors can feel good knowing that by supporting the Red Cross, they can help families here at home and across the country. Our next award is the Military Real Hero Award. 2020 was a difficult year for so many reasons, which makes today more important than ever in helping us remember that there truly are heroes among us. People like Sergeant Jason A. Cawley with the New York State Police. Going above and beyond the call of duty isn't something Sergeant Cawley had to think twice about on a December day following a record-breaking snowstorm. Let's learn more about his willingness to risk his life for the community he serves, putting his military and law enforcement training to work. The Military Award is sponsored by Lockheed Martin.
Hi, I'm Hamid Salim, Vice President and General Manager for Lockheed Martin in Owego. On behalf of Lockheed Martin, I want to recognize Zone Sergeant Jason Cawley of the New York State Police. On December 17th, after a historic snowstorm had hit our area, Zone Sergeant Cawley had battled the snow to answer a distress call for a driver that went off the road. Sergeant Cawley was able to find the driver who was suffering from frostbite and hypothermia and get the victim to safety. Sergeant Cawley, we are honored to sponsor you and to be part of the American Red Cross Real Heroes campaign. Thank you.
On the morning of December 17th, we knew we were going to get some snow. I woke up in the morning to not what we expected. It was closer to 4 feet of snow. We got 40 to 48 inches, depending on the area. Getting to work was quite a struggle in and of itself. I finally made my way to work and got into a state police vehicle, the Charger. As soon as I was able to, and actually mobile, I called the Tioga County Dispatch. We found that Tioga County, among our other 2 counties that we patrol, Tioga County was the hardest hit of the 3 counties. So I called the Tioga County Dispatch and asked them if they had any current emergencies, anything that hadn't been dispatched or anything that needed immediate response. They told me that they had a gentleman who was stuck in a car without heat, and they didn't know his location exactly. They had about a 3-mile stretch of road that he may or may not have been geolocated to. I drove to about the area where I was told he was going to be, and I looked around at all the heavy falling snow and all of the white on white where everything was just obscured by snow. The snowbanks were 5.5 to 7 feet tall in places. It wasn't strange to find yourself in waist deep snow just constantly. So I started from my troop car. I went 100 yards down the road. I decided this was going to be my search area. 100 yards left, 100 yards right. I went to 100 yards left and then realized I don't know exactly where I'm at. I'm going to dig for a mailbox. I'm going to try to find out exactly where I am. So I started to dig in the nearest snowbank. I climbed into it about a little over gun belt depth and started digging into it and reached inside of the snowbank as deep as I could. And I struck a vehicle window. It was actually the driver's side window of the vehicle that I was actually looking for. I thought I was looking for a mailbox, and I found the actual vehicle I was looking for. So I tunneled out a little arm's length area, knocked on the window, and asked anybody inside if they were okay. Hey, are you okay? And Mr. Cresson, we later identified him as Mr. Kevin Cresson, he replied, yes, I'm in here and I can't feel my feet. So I knew we had a medical emergency. He's probably hypothermic and maybe has frostbite. I called the 911 center and asked them to send an ambulance. They advised that they weren't going to be able to get an ambulance to me just because of the snow, the depth of the snow. They weren't able to travel there. So with Mr. Cresson, we drove down State Route 17C. I was crossing my fingers we wouldn't get stuck yet again. And I got him to the ambulance where they started to treat him for hypothermia. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time and was able to pull Mr. Cresson out of this vehicle. If he was in there for another hour, I'm certain that he would have passed away, considering the severity of his hypothermia. To be able to be there to make that difference was very rewarding for me.
Thank you, Sergeant Colley, for your service and life-saving rescue. Next is the Education Award, granted this year to Kashif Summers. Kashif, or Chief as he is fondly referred to by his students, is making a difference every day in countless ways in the lives of elementary school students and their parents and the community at large. The Education Award is sponsored by BAE Systems.
I'm Gary Beniston, the site executive of BAE Systems in their Endicott facility. BAE Systems is thrilled to join the American Red Cross in celebrating this year's Real Heroes Education Award recipient, Kashif Summers. Kashif has made a valuable impact as the community schools coordinator for the Union Endicott School District, where he encourages students to be doers and not triers. He is also the founder of Watch Us, Change Us, a nonprofit organization helping hundreds of children strive for self-motivation. His work to uplift local students and families during critical times of need has been a true inspiration to the community which he serves. On behalf of BAE Systems, congratulations to Kashif Summers, winner of this year's Education Award.
I'm the community school coordinator. I work at all 4 of the elementary schools in Endicott. I also run my own nonprofit organization called Watch Us, Change Us. It was something that I came up with because I wanted to help with the youth, just like people in the past in my life had helped me. But with my organization, we focus on the kids being self-motivated. I give them the resources and the help that they need to be successful in their talents or whatever they're good at. But the only way I help them is if they're helping themselves. A lot of the kids in the world want a lot of things, but they're not willing to put in the work. So what I do is I put the resources in front of them and advocate for them, but I let them know that they have to put in the work and be willing to sacrifice all the things that come with being successful. This past year, I collaborated with Molina Healthcare and iHeart Media, because with my organization, every summer I usually do a community barbecue to show the kids that I care, and I usually try to get the community to show their appreciation to the youth as well, where there's free food, free haircuts, book bag giveaways. When this first started 6 years ago, I did everything out of my pocket. I would use my tax money. Half would go to my kids' Christmas, the other half I would use for the community barbecue. We didn't get to do it last year because of COVID, but the year before was the first year, which was year 5, that I didn't have to come out of my pocket. And I actually got sponsors and donors and people to help with this event. The last 2 years that I had it, I've had up to 500 people. And I do it just to show the kids that we care. I work with the youth because I want to help them. And a lot of the kids, even the kids that already graduated and are graduating now, I've been working with them since they were younger. And like I said, I needed them to know that I believed in them, and that's why even before I had my organization, even before I had this title, everybody knows that I would do anything for the kids. I used to just be a site supervisor at the Boys and Girls Club. You know, but these kids know that they can rely on me. And I don't want to be the person that changes their life. I want to be the person that influences them to change their own life.
Kashif, thank you for all that you're doing to mentor the youth of our community, helping them develop in such positive ways. Without a doubt, COVID-19 brought challenges and opportunities that were beyond our imagination when the pandemic first hit our communities. Countless healthcare and frontline workers rose to the occasion and all deserve our sincere thanks and respect. We can all agree on how grateful we are for those in the medical field on any day, but particularly in this past year. Today's medical award is given to the Cayuga Health System, which exemplifies how a community pulled together despite difficult circumstances to help locally and beyond. The medical award is sponsored by iHeartMedia.
What's up? It's Scott from Now 105.7 and iHeartMedia Binghamton. Honored to be presenting the Medical Award, which is given to a medical professional, organization, or member of the community whose life-saving actions or preparedness best exemplify the very highest standards of their calling. Now, this year's Medical Award recipient is Cayuga Health System, and they're being represented today by their president and CEO, Dr. Marty Stallone. Cayuga Health System's physicians, nurses, support staff, and community volunteers all played extraordinary roles in rising to meet the challenges posed by the pandemic. They are ready to go right from day one. March 14th last year, the day the first positive COVID case was reported in Tompkins County. Now, when that happened, more than 60 dedicated volunteers joined Cayuga Health System's medical mission team to spend a month down in New York City helping treat the influx of COVID patients at hospitals, including New York Presbyterian. They also gained a wealth of valuable knowledge that they applied back here to better fight the virus locally. Now, while the medical mission team was down in New York City, support in Tompkins County continued and then expanded. In a coordinated community-wide effort, community healthcare providers, community health agencies, volunteers, and educational institutions all came together for months, teaming up to produce and procure hundreds of thousands of pieces of personal protective equipment. They also set up a dedicated donation site for critical medical supplies. They helped set up a mass testing site that analyzed the results of more than 800,000 Southern Tier residents. And when the vaccine got rolled out, they set up one of the first vaccination centers in the area and helped distribute more than 8,000 doses within the first few weeks. The work done by the healthcare providers at Cayuga Health System, as well as the dedicated community volunteers, absolutely exemplifies exactly what it means to be real heroes. Congratulations.
First off, the community was taken somewhat off guard in early March when we learned about COVID. We collected ourselves, we collaborated with all the private practices in the community, and it occurred to us that the major need existed in New York City. Within only weeks of realizing this, we coordinated with New York Presbyterian and Cornell University, and we dispatched over 60 medical professionals who deployed for over a month to New York Presbyterian and Lower Manhattan Hospital. In terms of our coordination with the Public Health Department, that was a model of efficacy and collaboration in the region. We started out by starting one of the first testing enterprises in New York State for COVID PCR testings, and we did this in close cooperation with Tompkins County Health Department, but also Cornell University. We started to transform the veterinary college's Animal Health Diagnostic Center into the now COVID Cornell Cayuga testing laboratory. And in this community, we have accomplished more than 1 million tests at the time that I'm recording this presentation. We used those same skills to field a mass vaccination site at the old Sears building at the shops at Ithaca Mall. And to date, we've administered more than 30,000 vaccines, and we're functioning with a capability of greater than 2,000 vaccines per day. In terms of donations, again, the entire community has been mobilized. Other entities like Encodema locally and Ithaca College's fabrication capabilities were both used to make face shields when these items were in very short supply. Throughout this entire event, throughout the entire crisis, the doctors and nurses heroically came to work each and every day without regard to their own safety or well-being to be there for our community. They truly were heroes in every sense of the word. The administration, our board, the leaders of the community are so honored to know these healthcare heroes, and we were humbled and honored to have a small part in the response to this crisis. We deeply appreciate the recognition that the Red Cross has placed in us, and we hope to continue realizing that we are more than just a health system. We're a pillar of the community, ongoing activities, and a source for hope for our community. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Dr. Stallone, for the efforts of your entire organization and the community who gave so generously of their time and talents. I now have the honor of introducing Mr. Christopher Sedlaka to deliver a special message as part of our program. Chris has served as a Red Cross volunteer since 2017, working in a number of different capacities in Otsego, Chenango, and Delaware counties. He has also been deployed to national disasters, the first for Hurricane Harvey in Houston. He serves as a disaster action team supervisor, the Western New York Regional Disaster Onboarding Lead, a trailer towing team member, a home fire campaign team member, and a mass care team member in sheltering and feeding. Regardless of the aspect of disaster, preparedness, response, or recovery that's needed, Chris is there to answer the call. A seeker of life's golden nuggets, he finds many with the Red Cross. His dedication is unmatched with his unending service and inspiration to us all. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce you to Red Cross volunteer and advocate, Chris Sedlaka.
Oh, hi folks. Nice to see you. I'm Chris Sedlaka, a volunteer with the American Red Cross. I'm heading out on a fire call, so I'm packing, and I'm waiting for a phone call from my partner. What a coincidence that I'm running across you. It'll save me a trip because I'll use this opportunity to ask you something. First, I have to pack up. I'll take some blankets, put that in my duffel bag here, a toiletry kit, even a stuffed movie animal. Hello, everybody. It brings comfort to the children. And because these folks are in a rural area, I'm going to take a debit card as well. It'll have some money put on it. That money will go for the folks' immediate needs of food, clothing, and shelter. If they weren't in such a rural area, we might be able to make a transfer through electronic funds. Firefighter Jim, Fire Chief Jeff, Deputy Ed, Captain JC might have seen us on scene when they've responded. While I'm waiting for the call from my partner, let me get my notes over here so I can tell you a few things about myself and the Red Cross. I've been with the Red Cross since 2017, just celebrating a Red Cross anniversary. Woo! I'm retired from 40 years of teaching elementary school students in Australia and upstate New York. About 3 years before I retired, a friend of mine asked me to volunteer, and shortly after retiring, I took him up on the opportunity and haven't looked back. I feel a strong connection to the mission of the Red Cross, which is to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of our donors. I saw the Red Cross in action and figured I can help. In our region, from January through March of 2021, the Disaster Action Team responded to 105 cases, helping 419 people. Well, besides the disaster department, we provide services to armed forces, blood services, and if you'd like to update a New Year's resolution, resolve to donate one more time than you did last year if you're able. We have a community education department, folks going to schools. We have our home fire campaign where we provide free smoke alarms to folks and provide education so they don't have the fire in the first place. And from personal experience, I've deployed for my first time in 2017 to Hurricane Harvey in Houston. I was a driver of one of the Red Cross trucks. I've helped in shelters even locally at the Oneida Lake flooding. Harvey was a big operation, lots of trucks on arrival. I was sent to a kitchen, which is nothing more than a big parking lot where our community partners bring their trucks, cook the food, give it to us, we take it, put it in clamshells, and then take it to the folks in their neighborhoods. A lot like the summer ice cream guy, only we're the Red Cross food people. We try to provide a hot meal to those in need at least once a day. Folks are very thankful. On our last day at a shelter, when I was at a shelter in California, we were heartened to drive into the driveway to find one of the residents drawing a huge mural of thanks on that driveway. It's these actions that bring me back. Which brings me to what I was going to ask you. Tonight, we hope you'll join me in celebrating the great work of the American Red Cross. Please show your generosity to support our mission to alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by making a donation. In a moment, you'll receive a text. Please click on the link provided and make your donation. Or you may make a donation at redcross.org. Oh, there's the phone. Excuse me. Oh, hello, John? Mm-hmm. Where are we meeting? Yes, okay. Yep, I know where that is. Right. See you there in about 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Goodbye. Well, that's my call, everybody. I've got to get going. Please be generous, and we'll see you another time.
Thank you, Chris. We are so grateful for all that you do for the Red Cross, especially here in the Southern Tier region. Last year, 614 Red Cross volunteers in the Southern Tier region provided food and clothing, shelter, and support to more than 980 individuals after fires and other disasters, provided critical case services to support our military members, veterans, and their families, and collected more than 35,000 life-saving blood donations from volunteer donors. We hope that others will continue to follow Christopher's lead and support our efforts locally, whether it's volunteering or by making a donation to help the Red Cross accomplish its mission. Our next story shows how quick and decisive action can alter the outcome of an emergency situation for the better. This year, the Lifeline Award is given to the team of Trooper Mitchell Reed, Nicholas J. Fife, Brian W. Gill, and Clayton M. Missner for their extraordinary life-saving actions. The Lifeline Award is sponsored by Fox 40.
So around January 7th, I got notified of the call. It was around 9 a.m. I was on Main Street, Margaret, and I got a call of a man who got his leg stuck in the wood chipper. The call came from Delaware County, which is one of our dispatch units in the area. So once I heard the call, immediately I jumped into action. I knew where the road was. It was on Dry Brook in Margaret, and I knew where it was right away, which made it easier. So my immediate action was to get there as quick as possible, to see if EMS was already on the way, which is crucial. And once I got there, just to make sure that the guy was okay. So once I arrived on scene, I noticed that the individual was currently on the ground next to both Brian Gill, Nicholas Fife, and Clay Misner, who jumped into action immediately, which were part of his co-workers. I saw that the three individuals who were working with the man had already put a makeshift tourniquet on, which was a big help and big crucial part of probably what saved his life. Once I got there, I just wanted to make sure that I could help out any way possible. So I jumped in, I threw a tourniquet on, which happened to be his left leg as high up as I could to try to stop the bleeding. Once I got that taken care of, I queued up to our dispatch unit and asked them when EMS was going to be on scene, which they stated the EMS was on scene and that they would be there momentarily. So when EMS got there, I just wanted to make sure that he stayed alert. So I talked to him, made sure that he was speaking, made sure that his pupils were dilating, that he was not losing consciousness. I wanted to let him know that he was safe, that he was going to be safe, and that help was on its way, and stay with us and stay awake. I also want to put a big thank you to the three individuals who were on scene, that being Brian Gill, Nicholas Fife, and Clayton Misner, for acting so quickly and getting the man out of the wood chipper, and doing the best they can and keeping his leg elevated and putting a makeshift tourniquet on. I also want to say big thanks to the fire department, Fleischman's Fire, Arkville Fire, and Margaretville Fire, who arrived on scene immediately. I also want to take a big thanks to Margaretville EMS, who arrived on scene immediately and jumped into action as quickly as I did. It feels kind of surreal to save someone's life. There's no really words. I'm sure any other first responder would say the same thing. There's no words to describe, helping someone who needs help and being there to help someone. I think that's the whole reason why we sign up as first responders, to make a difference when we can and to help people who need help whether they can help themselves or whether they're not able to help themselves. And to help this guy when he was in need is a great honor for me. And like I said, there's no words to really describe how I felt.
An amazing rescue to be sure. Thank you to the team for your heroic efforts. Our next award is the Workplace Safety Award. The recipients are another team that worked together to save a life. Let's hear how Afton educators Teresa Berkeley, Cheryl Carr, Daryl Decker, Sarah Helbert, Nancy Moffett, and Tracy Simmons sprang into action when they saw a coworker in need. This story is a true testament to the value of CPR training. The Workplace Safety Award is sponsored by Dryden Mutual Insurance Company and the Raymond Corporation.
Raymond is proud to support the American Red Cross, and we are amazed by all the remarkable heroes throughout our greater community. We're proud to highlight the Afton School Team for the Workplace Safety Award. Through teamwork and training, they were able to provide life-saving support to one of their own colleagues. Their quick thinking and immediate actions combined with teamwork are an inspiration, making them a true team of heroes. Congratulations.
Hi, my name is Tracy Simmons. I am the school nurse here in Afton Central School District. I am here to talk about how Afton proud we are here in Afton. We had a medical emergency that happened, and our trained staff was able to handle that medical emergency and help save a life. We are very happy to train all of our staff here on staff development days, on CPR and first aid, and our staff with our CPR training through the American Red Cross. We were able to perform CPR and properly use our AED. So we had many staff members that helped out that day, and we are very proud, Afton proud. Thank you.
Thank you for that inspiring story. We certainly encourage everyone to learn this life-saving skill, which can now be done virtually through the Red Cross. Our next hero award is the Law Enforcement Award. The recipient, Deputy Edward Helaepica, demonstrated his willingness to risk his own safety for that of his fellow man. As you'll see, his actions truly embody what it means to be a public servant. The Law Enforcement Award is sponsored by Press Connects and LaChase Construction Services, LLC.
Greetings. I'm Kevin Hogan, Executive Editor of the Binghamton Press and Sun Bulletin and PressConnects.com. On behalf of our organization, the USA Today Network, along with LaChase Construction Services, I'm proud to present the Law Enforcement Award to a deserving hero. Broome County Sheriff's Deputy Edward Halepka responded heroically during what must have been one of the most stress-filled days of the year for local emergency crews. Deputy Halepka's quick thinking and actions on December 17th made the difference of a lifetime for the victim and his loved ones. Thank you, Deputy Halepka, for all you've done and for everything you'll do in the future.
So it was the morning, I believe it was December 17th, 2020. It was the morning after we got the record snowfall. I think it was like 40 inches throughout the I was on my way to a disabled vehicle or disabled vehicle up in the town of Maine, and the call came out for a fire on Pulaski Street with possible entrapment. I rerouted from the initial call of the disabled vehicle due to the entrapment and started heading for Pulaski Street. For those who aren't familiar, Pulaski Street is one of the most steep streets in Broome County, especially in the town of Dickinson area. And with the snow, I just wasn't sure who was going to get there or how or when. We'd already had several patrol cars get stuck. There were civilians stuck all over the county. So I figured the more cars that could get there, the better. When I arrived on scene, I was the first on scene. It was just me. Fortunately, the town of Dickinson had their scanner on, and the plow truck operator heard that the call was coming out and cleared Pulaski Street prior to my arrival. When we got there, there was smoke coming out the front door. There were several people in the street from the group home. The manager of the group home was out there and advised me that there was still someone inside that he didn't believe would come out. I had been there before, so I was kind of aware of the situation. I knew it was a group home. And like I said before, due to the snow, I just wasn't sure who was going to get there or when or how long it would be, fire or EMS or even another patrol car to get there. At that point, I made the decision I had to go into the house. Due to the heavy smoke, I tried to stay as low as I could. Went into the house calling out for the resident, who ended up coming out of his bedroom, which was right next to the kitchen, which is, I believe, where the fire originated. I met him in like the dining room area, grabbed a hold of him and escorted him out of the house to make sure that everyone was out. After the incident, we all ended up down at Wilson Medical Hospital, and I had spoken to several nurses there who stated that it wasn't a good situation for anyone inside the house, and time was definitely a factor. And it was good that he got out. It wasn't any longer. The smoke inhalation had already. So it's kind of one of those things you hear police say all the time: is we wear many hats, and it just so happened with this call, and like a fireman hat. But it makes you feel great, you know. It's what keeps you going, keep doing the job, is when you help someone out and have a positive impact on someone's life, whether it be pulling them out of a fire or anything you can do to have a positive impact. It feels great. It just keeps going.
Congratulations, Deputy Halepka, on your outstanding efforts to save the life of another. Our Good Samaritan Youth Award today belongs to a very special 8th grader, Sneha Pornaki. Thanks to this creative and inspiring young lady, residents of a local nursing facility were able to stay in touch with family members during the COVID-19 crisis by using electronic devices that Sneha collected and donated, decreasing isolation and loneliness. The Good Samaritan Youth Award is sponsored by Security Mutual Life Insurance Company.
Hello, I am Heather Zabrowski, Chief Human Resources and Diversity and Inclusion Officer with Security Mutual Life. We at Security Mutual are proud to be a part of the American Red Cross Real Heroes event, and it is our pleasure to introduce this year's recipient of the Good Samaritan Youth Award. This past year of living through a pandemic has been incredibly difficult for so many. To have an individual focused on others' needs in such a meaningful way is incredible. The leadership qualities that were demonstrated to make something happen that was such a positive impact on so many lives during a time when it was needed the most fits this award to a T. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Sneha Pornaki, a local 8th grade Girl Scout. Your story is inspirational and a guiding light for all of us. Congratulations.
And so how my project started was, so when you're like in Girl Scouts, when you're in about like 8th or 9th grade, you can do a silver award. I chose to do my silver award at a nursing home that I've been going to since I was about 2 years old. And I had started this project to create a sensory room for residents with dementia. But when COVID started, I wasn't able to go inside the nursing home to work on the sensory room. So that project was put on pause for a bit. And around that time, my grandma was in the hospital. And the only way we could communicate with her and her doctors was through FaceTime, because she doesn't speak English very well at all, and she was all alone. So we had to translate things, and if she needed something, we had to talk to the doctors through FaceTime. And that kind of gave me an idea to do this initiative. And when my grandma fell sick, the doctors, the only way they only could talk to us through FaceTime, because we weren't allowed to go and visit her. This was during the beginning. And this made me realize that the residents, they hadn't spoken to their loved ones in months due to COVID, and I could tell that was pretty hard on them. So after I had this idea, I spoke to my mom, and she introduced me to Mrs. Gales, the activities director at Ideal, and she helped me through my entire initiative. And so after I was done with my initiative, more residents and families were offered FaceTime through the iPads, and I was able to create awareness toward this initiative, and I was able to donate iPads to Ideal. I created a poster that I posted on multiple social media platforms, and I reached out to lots of people, and I was able to get 8 iPads that I donated. So it made me feel really good knowing that I was able to help people be in touch with their loved ones, and I want to continue this initiative.
Thank you, Sneha, for your sincere care and compassion for those struggling during the pandemic. Our next award is our Animal Rescue Real Hero. Today's award recipient is Courtney Brock, owner of A Mini Introduction into Horses. Her work to rescue and rehabilitate horses goes beyond helping animals, as Courtney takes her dedication to the next level by assisting youth in her community. The Animal Rescue Award is sponsored by White Knight Productions.
Hi, my name is Ellen Barton. I am the CEO and founder of White Knight Productions. It is my honor to present this year's Red Cross Real Heroes Animal Rescue Award. As someone who's worked with horses, I know firsthand the impact that they can have on a person's life, much like this year's recipient, Courtney Brock. When Courtney heard that a local 4-H club needed help, she stepped up to the plate without a second thought. Courtney was instrumental in creating a space for the local children to learn about showing and caring for their horses, and also to develop important skills such as compassion, responsibility, and self-confidence. Thank you, Courtney, for all that you've done for your community, and congratulations.
I started my program because my mom and my family were into rescuing horses. So I grew up in the horse world and rescuing horses. I started 4-H when I was little. Then I decided I grew out of 4-H. My college year, I decided I wanted to become a leader. And I showed rescue horses. My first real rescue horse I showed was really hard for me because I was watching all these other kids show top quality horses, and I'm like, my horse is never going to be that way. I worked really hard with her to get her to where she is now, and she'll step into a show ring and she'll clean up. She might have scars on her legs, she's got a scar on her forehead, but she places. She makes me happy because I know I achieved a goal. A horse that was garbage to most turned out to be a horse that is worth a lot. And now when people look at her and they're like, oh, I want her, how much for her? And I'm just like, she's not for sale. I put a lot of work into her, and she's now my personal horse that I absolutely love. There was a local group that needed help with their minis. They were untouched for quite a while, and the kids were really struggling with them. And I said, I like working with minis. I volunteered to help them for the summer. And it was hard to work with a mini because I had lost my mini a couple of years before that. So I had given my mini stuff away to other 4-H kids because I wasn't going to use it ever again for showing. And to help these kids, I was like, oh, I really miss doing the mini stuff, showing the minis. I get my rescues from all over. I've got a couple from an auction. I've gotten some from other people that say, hey, a friend down the road is having trouble with a horse. They can't afford it. I go down, the horse might be skin and bones, but give them a second chance.
Thank you, Courtney, for the inspiring work you do to help our four-legged friends and the young people in your community. Our final hero award for today is the Good Neighbor Award. Fire Chief Jeff Hantz and paramedic Amber Hantz are this year's recipients. Due to their prompt first on-the-scene response to an EMS call, Jeff and Amber were able to employ their skills to quickly assess the victim's worsening condition and react accordingly. We all need good neighbors like Fire Chief Jeff Hantz and Amber Hantz. The Good Neighbor Award is sponsored by IBM.
Hi, my name is Mary O'Malley-Trumbull, and I'm the IBM Endicott Senior Location Executive. It's such an honor and a privilege to present the Good Neighbor Award. This year, IBM is proud to sponsor 2 awards. I previously recorded the Good Samaritan Award, and you may hear some similar language, but it pertains to both of these awards. So this year's Good Neighbor Award goes to Fire Chief Jeff Hantz and Amber Hantz. Both are volunteers in the West Corners Fire Company. And one evening last summer, they were enjoying time outside. An EMS call went out for a patient who was having difficulty breathing. And without hesitation, the Hantzes responded and headed to the incident. It happened to be right up the street where they lived. They were the first responders and took vital signs when the patient collapsed and became unresponsive. With no pulse detected, their training kicked in, they began CPR and applied the defibrillator, or the AED. The ambulance arrived approximately 30 seconds later, and the Hantzes' unselfish actions resulted in saving the patient's life. The Good Neighbor Award embodies a hero's self-sacrifice and desire to make this community an ideal place in which we live and work. Again, the Hantzes are role models for all of us. In closing, I want to share a quote from Abraham Lincoln's inaugural address in 1861. Let us all appeal now to the better angels of our nature. He asked all of us to do the right thing, even in the face of adversity, to step forward where others decline to tread. The Hantzes have appealed to the better angels of their nature, and we're a better community because of it. I wish to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Hantzes and countless others like them that respond without hesitation and without knowing if they will be in harm's way. Their efforts keep our community safe. So Jeff and Amber, you're to be commended, rightfully honored, and thanked by all of us. Congratulations on your award.
The night of July 17th, 2020, we were outside enjoying the nice weather, doing some lawn care stuff and whatnot, when we were alerted through our pagers of a med call right up the street. It was a kind of the run-of-the-mill chest pain call. I'm not saying it's a run-of-the-mill, but it's a typical med call that we had. So we thought to ourselves, let's just go respond. It's right here, and we'll handle the call. Once we got on scene, we noticed that the windows, the shades were all shut. We knocked at the door, there was no answer, and the door was actually locked, which concerned us right away. We knocked a little bit more, and then we did see someone in the window coming down to the stairs, taking their time. The subject did open the door, and we made contact with them. The subject did not look good at all. He looked like he was in dire pain. He was gray, he was discolored, he was out of breath, and we immediately started patient care. We were talking with him, having a conversation with him. He was telling us about his day, about what he just ate, and I was actually getting information, writing down his date of birth, when he literally slumped over, his eyes rolled back in the back of his head, and went unconscious.
We lowered him from the stairs to the floor, and we were unable to feel a carotid pulse at this time. So I started chest compressions while Jeff notified Broome County Dispatch that we had a CPR in progress and got the AED out of the vehicle. So we applied the AED and delivered one shock, continued CPR, and the patient actually became conscious when his pulse returned. He actually grabbed a hold of my hands and opened his eyes and was able to communicate with us. At that time, the ambulance had arrived, and due to COVID, they were donning all of their appropriate PPE, and the patient was able to communicate with us, tell us how he was feeling. We were able to get another blood pressure. He still looked very unwell, but he was conscious and talking appropriately and actually recognized us from being neighbors down the street.
So on our end, it was a routine call that turned into probably one of the most exhilarating experiences in my life. To see someone go down and then come back because of the work that we did, it's just something you can't ever explain to someone else unless you experience it.
Hello, I'm Alan Turner, Regional Executive and the Interim Executive Director of the Southern Tier Chapter of the American Red Cross. On behalf of all of us, I want to once again extend our congratulations to all of the 2021 Real Heroes. We're honored to be able to recognize all of this year's heroes as part of our 12th annual Real Heroes event right here in the Southern Tier Chapter. And while once again we find ourselves unable to celebrate in person, we are proud that this fully virtual event was able to truly capture the humanitarian spirit of our heroes and helped bring their amazing stories to life. This would not be possible without Fox 40 and White Knight Productions as our media and production partners. I want to thank the entire team at Fox 40, including our wonderful MC, Dylan Kuhn, for their time and effort in making this evening's production possible. And of course, our Real Heroes Southern Tier virtual event would not be possible without the generous support of IBM, our sponsors, and our in-kind donors. I also want to recognize our Real Heroes Committee, particularly all the volunteers that stepped up to make tonight happen. I also want to thank Christopher Stalaka for his empowering message. Christopher spoke about the Red Cross mission and how you too can be a hero. Hopefully by now you've received a text message telling you how you can be a hero for your community by supporting the Red Cross. There's still plenty of time to make that gift, now or after the event. You can also visit redcross.org/ST Real Heroes to make your donation. We're grateful that all of you have taken the time to join us in this virtual setting as we continue to prove the pandemic can't stop our heroes or the American Red Cross. Thank you for joining us and have a great evening.